Welcome to the Mojo Market Report. Here's your hosts, Dave Sturchio and Chris Gueci.
It's time to get prepared here on the Mojo Market Report. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's well out there. I hope everybody had a great Sunday. I know me and Chris did strategically for our teams, and there was a lot of good things to happen over at the Mojo Market Report. It is Dave Sturchio. It is Chris Gueci, A5 Anthony behind the glass. Again, we hope you guys are doing well and you made some money this weekend. Chris, real quick, before we get into anything else, I got to ask you a few layup questions, okay? Ask me why I'm wearing green.
Dave, why are you wearing green today?
Because I love money and I love making money. Now, Chris, one more again. Ask me how I made money.
Dave, how did you make some money yesterday?
How did I make money? I went long on Zach Wilson, ladies and gentlemen. We tried to tell you that last week. You need to listen to us a little bit. We're trying to give you guys all the information that we have in our domes to give you guys the insight to go long on certain players. And Zach Wilson makes his debut, a very successful one yesterday. I'm very excited to see him get in there. Tough sledding to start. You're kind of like shaking off the cobwebs and everything like that. But overall, Zach Wilson delivers.
Zach Wilson definitely delivered. You would expect a little bit of the sloppy play. It was a Steelers-Jets game in the heels of a hurricane down south. Mm-hmm. So we had a sloppy weather all up the eastern seaboard yesterday. But I took a bath as well as the eastern seaboard on my bets. I did not have a good day yesterday. But the Mojo Market definitely alleviated some of that stress because I did well there.
You want to hear something
Mojo
crazy?
has been saving me the last 2 weeks. I got to be honest.
But you want to hear something crazy? I've been playing and hosting my own fantasy football league for almost 20 years now. With me, my dad, my brother, all my closest friends, right? We found ourselves yesterday watching the Mojo Market over our fantasy stats. That's either alarming or awesome because the Mojo Market is so up, down, up, down, up. Like it's very fluctuate.
So
like it's
fun
just
to watch
it's a lot of fun in real time, especially when you're watching Zach Wilson. Now, Zach Wilson yesterday, the Jets get the dub, which is obviously the main stat of the day. Zach Wilson starts, he gets a win. That's right there. Boom, boom, gravy, right? But the composure this kid showed, the abilities and the different ways this kid showed that he could score some points. We saw ourselves with the what do you call it? You want to call it the jetty?
So wait, that's what I'm saying.
There's no
here.
Philly. Was it the jetty?
Forget the play. Forget how good he looked under pressure. Forget the sloppy start.
Forget it all.
The gritty. Zach Wilson, and I call him Zach because it's an inside joke here at the Mojo Market Report. Zach Wilson has the best gritty outside of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, maybe in football.
Looked a little rehearsed, meaning like he's been doing this in the mirror for way too long.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that Zach is busting out the gritty on a Friday night.
I love how you call him Zach, bro, just because of his spelling.
Bro, it's so funny.
Oh, my God. Anyway, so
Zach Wilson is the man.
He catches a touchdown. He's throwing touchdowns. He's putting together a nice drive at the end of the game. In that last drive, the fourth quarter comeback, he goes 5 for 5 for 57 yards in that 2-minute drill against the 12th ranked passing defense in football right now. And that's, again, no Mika Fitzpatrick, but they're still 12th ranked. What's wrong?
I'm just double checking on the spelling.
We're good. Right, exactly. I'm telling you, we can have a whole nother lengthy conversation about the ways people should spell their names, like Sean, like S-H-A-W-N, not S-E-A-N. But there's a million people that do S-E-A-N, and I think it's weird. But anyway, so Zach Wilson has himself a day. It's an incredible game for him. His market actually moved a little bit more than what I thought. And guess what? Guess why? Chris, ask me why mine went up astronomically.
Dave, why did your Zach Wilson stock go up astronomically?
Well, because, Chris, I'll explain it to you like this. When Mojo's out there literally giving things away, I'm saying, here, have this. We want to thank you for coming on board with Mojo. And it's a 10 times multiplier, Chris. So you do the math. It went ham yesterday, and Zach Wilson absolutely cashed. So now I ask you, is this one game hype, or is this like, okay, this kid might have something here with the Jets, because he elevated the performance of everybody around him. And look, no discredit to Joe Flacco. Thanks for coming. But like, Zach Wilson is the future of this team, and we've been saying it for a couple weeks now. But are you timid, or are you kind of sold right now?
I'm sold because of not only the fact that they're obviously bought into him with a high draft pick. They have heavy draft capital invested in Zach Wilson, so there's going to be a long leash there, no doubt about it. And look at the talent around him. We've talked at length with Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, both the running backs. They're all young. And Robert Saleh is on an on an upswing. He said, I'm taking receipts. And look, Robert Saleh has since delivered. The Jets didn't look good last week against the Bengals, but that was a tough spot. Bengals were reeling, and that was kind of to be expected. But this Jets team, 2-2 after 2 weeks, and they weathered the storm with Joe Flacco. 4 weeks.
That's just math.
Math.
Monday
morning
math.
Monday morning math. Give me a break, guys. Give me a break. But yeah, of course.
That's okay. Do you know that I had last week? I had somebody actually catching more balls than he was throwing.
Yeah, I did see that, and it was also a clip on. So it was amazing. I loved every second of it. But yes, of course, I'm not only am I in on Zach Wilson, but I'm going to hold because I feel like he's going to have a long, successful career, at least going to have some opportunity for the next 2 or 3 years with this core that they've built. It's a good young team, and he's doing it right now without an offensive line whatsoever. So if they could even fix that just a little bit, then I feel like Zach Wilson is really on his way to being a solid quarterback in this league, and you know what that means for the Mojo Market.
Yeah, I mean, you could take a even better.
Am I doing it right?
The Stairway to Heaven? Yeah, you're doing that.
Zach.
Perfect. That's
He's
perfect.
on his way.
And I told you guys, see, all the way out there in the distance in the city is the boat. If you miss the boat, do not miss it on the second week, okay? Do yourself a favor. Do it now. Don't wait. Do it. Like we've been trying to tell you guys this for 2 weeks now. Now, before I get into, well, I guess that kind of puts a bow on Zach Wilson because obviously it's going to be hype all week long, especially if you're a New York Jets fan. On the other side of that field was a man named Mitch Trubisky, who I shorted because I said it was only a matter of time. And you know who I went long on? Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett finds himself in the ball game yesterday at halftime. Finally, Mike Tomlin was like, the heck with this. I'm done. It's over. This experiment, Mitch, was fun, but he's not a starting quarterback anymore. Kenny Pickett comes in there and does his job. Now, Kenny Pickett goes 10 for 13, 120 yards. He may or may not have thrown a bunch of picks, but the offense looked different, and that's where I look at opportunity going forward for Kenny Pickett. But he's not the only one in the NFL yesterday. All of a sudden, Kenny Pickett gets in there based off of performance. Now, we all talked about last week when Mac Jones went down with a concussion. We're sitting there like, all right, well, then it's Brian Hoyer season. We know what we got out of Brian Hoyer. No big deal. But all of a sudden, Brian Hoyer goes down with a concussion, and here comes Bailey Zappe. Zappe comes in there, who, by the way, in the preseason wore number 55 the entire time, and nobody said boo. And then he becomes a quarterback, and they give him the jersey.
That's a Patriot thing. Mac Jones was number 50.
Yeah, that's all year. You should have kept it. If you're going to leave it, if you're going to be these weird numbers, let it be obscure. But anyway, Zappe gets in the game. You obviously were heavily invested in this game.
I saw a lot of Zappe, a little more than I'd like to have seen. Look, Bailey Zappe, the first rookie quarterback to throw a touchdown pass this year. Out of all the guys, who would have thought it would have been Bailey Zappe? Go figure.
To throw a touchdown.
Throw a touchdown. Think about it. Kenny Pickett, did he throw one?
No.
Did Malik Willis throw one when he got in the game?
No.
No. Bailey Zappe, the first rookie quarterback to throw a touchdown pass.
Can't wait to be proven wrong.
And he did it against a defense that is typically really good against the pass. He managed, look, the Patriots, Bill Belichick, they called a masterful game in fixing things and making it easy for him. The run game worked, so it helped Bailey Zappe. But what Bailey Zappe did for himself yesterday was show to the league that I don't think he's ever going to be the guy. They have a young quarterback in place right now, so it's not like there's a room for him to start, but he's clearly the backup now in New England. And what he did yesterday was show the rest of the league that no matter where he goes, he could probably be a backup quarterback. And those things are very valuable, those things. Guys like that are very valuable in the NFL, as you see with the Jimmy G situation. You've seen with Nick Foles in the past. Backup quarterback is an undervalued position. Cooper Rush, case in point, yes. So Bailey Zappe, 10 for 14, I think, in the second half. Didn't really make many big throws.
It was very conservative.
But very conservative. And used the play action well. And look, they drew up a couple plays for him that I didn't think they would have in the playbook, and he executed. So tip your hat to Bailey Zappe. Back to Kenny Pickett, though. It was a little good, a little bad, much like a Zach Wilson situation. He did enough to get his team in a position to win the game.
He did.
And then he did enough to get his team in a position to lose the game. Which you expect out of a rookie quarterback coming into a sloppy weathered game in a tight one. You know, it was a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything out of Kenny Pickett that's going to make me pump the brakes on my thoughts on him going forward. He did well. He completed 10 passes. The other 3 were interceptions, so none of his passes touched the ground.
Wow, I mean that's a nugget.
But that's what you would expect out of a rookie quarterback. I'm not gonna I'm not going to sound the alarm on Pickett because of the picks.
In the preseason, he was 80%, man. You know what I'm saying? So he had some opportunities to lace him in there throughout the preseason. People are like, okay, this kid's got something special behind him.
I do want to just make note that when Kenny Pickett came in the game, George Pickens really got a lot more involved in the offense.
Yes.
And that could be a thing. I think Pittsburgh's offense, the only chance it has this year is Kenny Pickett. You would think the Steelers won. Based on the way their fan base reacted yesterday, just because we got rid of Trubisky, and I could understand.
I mean, that's tough sledding for that kid, man.
I can understand.
And look, you can make money that way on the long side. I mean, on the shorter side of things.
Also,
Mitch Trubisky got me some money because he stunk.
Yeah,
That's just the way of the game.
Mitch Trubisky just proved that you don't get many opportunities in this league. He's gotten his. Now this is his third stop, but second opportunity to start. You don't get many more.
He might be a career backup going forward.
You don't fix accuracy issues, and he has really big time accuracy issues. Yeah. The offensive line's not helping either, though. I will say that.
So I got to ask you though, as far as these, now we're seeing Pickett, we're seeing we're seeing Bailey Zappe, we're seeing all these rookie quarterbacks. So I ask you, who's next? I mean, there's quarterbacks out there that are waiting in the wings for their team to give them the call, almost like a bring in the righty kind of deal. You have a guy like Ritter down here in Atlanta, right? And Mariota's not playing bad football. You know what I'm saying? So that's why that might be extended. The wait might be longer. Then you got, I mean, look. The Washington Commanders, I understand they made the trade, right? And they made the trade for Carson Wentz, and I went on, guess who went short on Carson Wentz? This guy, you know what I mean? And he didn't have himself that bad of a game, but he didn't also win. So a guy like Howell, does he have a shot to come on in there eventually? Or is it?
We saw Malik
He's
Willis.
the third guy right now.
We saw Malik Willis
and
get
Malik
in the
Willis
game.
too. Jeez.
So we did see him get an appearance, but I don't think that was anything more than a blowout. There's no reason to keep Tannehill in there.
Yeah.
Let's get this guy a couple snaps, and I think Buffalo even probably took some players out on defense.
Right.
So I'm going to leave him out of it for this equation. I do think that he's got a long way to go. I think Tannehill's the guy. They won a game.
They keep winning, right? They win. It's not there won't be any questions
Tannehill's
raised.
a little more proven than Wentz is pretty proven, but Tannehill's at least a proven commodity in
What's
the league.
he proven?
He's gotten a 1 seed. He's gone to the playoffs a couple seasons in a row. So I think Tannehill's got a little bit longer of a leash. I think because of Desmond Ridder and Mariota's style of play, you might see an uptick in offense if they did bring in Ridder, if he was making good decisions. But I think that's where it comes down to right now. Mariota takes care of the football fairly well. He has turned it over, but has mostly been running the football.
You think the Falcons are that kind of offense to like insert Ridder in packages or like?
I do.
You know what I mean? Eventually?
Ridder's an athlete, and he's a big guy. I think he fits in well in terms of his body type in this modern day NFL. He's almost like a Josh Allen type. He's a big guy. I like Ridder a lot going forward. I just think it's going to be a little bit, as long as Atlanta's playing well. I'm not sure how many points they scored yesterday. I think they didn't score 26, correct? It was a little bit less, 23.
Who?
Atlanta. I think they won 23-20.
Yeah.
But going into week 4, Atlanta was the only offense in football that had at least 26 points in all 3 games. You wouldn't have thought that about the Atlanta Falcons.
And
they're running the football at an insanely effective rate, which I'm surprised when nobody thought the Falcons were going to be this good running the ball. That's helping Mariota. I think Mariota sticks for a little bit. Wentz is bound to get injured based on what we know about Carson Wentz. So I will say Sam Howell will get the next.
What about
crack.
Tyler Haneke?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, is Sam Howell even the backup?
We'll see.
I think he is.
Do
teams carry 3 quarterbacks?
I think they do.
Do the Redskins or
Commanders?
The Commanders carry 3 quarters?
Listen, it's been for 40 years.
I just got done. I've been calling them football team all season.
And we just got done with that. Anyway, so that basically is your rookie watch. Keep an eye on all of those rookies going forward. And right now, again, these are. It's like I invested in Kenny Pickett when Kenny Pickett was not the starting quarterback. I invested Kenny Pickett to show you that by investing now with these longer term plays, this is the time to do it. So if you do want to get in on Malik or a Desmond Ridder or any of these guys that we know it's only a matter of time, this is the cheapest they'll be. So that's why I say always move on that.
Yep.
If you have some money to sprinkle, do it now, especially if the Mojo keeps offering multipliers. Like I'm telling you, it's going to happen over time. It's just a matter of when, not if. All right. Outside of the quarterback rookie watch and everything like that, there was some significant top movers yesterday from week 4, which, again, the end of tonight will be done with 4 weeks of football. We're a quarter way in, which actually leads me to a lot of conversation based off some of these players that we can now start seeing some trends. We'll get into that in a little bit. But first and foremost, I mean, the man, he showed up in jolly old London, and we're talking about Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson absolutely balled out once again. The guy is probably, if not already, I mean, I guess you could consider Devontae still that guy skill-wise, but it's only a matter, and obviously somebody that we're going to see tonight in Cooper Kupp, but Justin Jefferson, man, he is something special. He gets the ball. All right, let me make sure I got this right. They threw it to him 13 times. He caught 10 of them, and he gets 147 yards, 14.7 yards in as far as the average is concerned. 1 rush, 3 yards, and a touchdown. So, Chris, I got to ask you. I mean, obviously he's one of the upper echelon of receivers right now. What do you feel like this guy's ceiling is? Because right now he's sitting there, a massive spike, and he keeps doing what he's doing. He's doing this with Kirk Cousins. So that's got to mean something. Imagine when they get a quarterback in there to start actually throwing the ball.
Kirk Cousins is there to stay. I think the contract dictates that. They're
whatever.
Careful what you wish for if you get rid of Kirk Cousins. I'm not a fan of him, but the Vikings would be hard-pressed to replace him right now, the way things are going. But nonetheless, Justin Jefferson is one of those top 3 guys at the position where I've been talking about it. Him, Jamar Chase. There's a ton of them at the top that I just think you can't go wrong with. Even with Justin Jefferson, week 1 he exploded against Green Bay, and then there was like a dip in his usage. And then week 3 it was his worst performance in his NFL career, lowest target share.
And that's why you see what you see on your screen.
And the coaching staff probably realized, like, we can't let that happen again. Thielen and Osborne did step up, and they did come back and win, but you would like to see Jefferson get moved around. I think he saw 8 plays in week 3 where he wasn't double-teamed. Minnesota did a very, very good job yesterday of moving him around and lining him up in different spots and making it difficult to keep their tabs on Justin Jefferson. As long as they're able to do that, he's going to run free. Even a couple bad weeks in a row, you saw him on a downward trajectory a little bit, based off of his week 1 explosion, right back to normal.
But just like Mojo does, man, that market moved significantly yesterday.
Justin Jefferson is not the type of guy that you want to be like, oh, week 3, I think he's going to do good, and then he does good and you sell. You just hold Justin Jefferson. As long as you have that income disposable,
I
you
agree.
Keep Justin Jefferson in your portfolio. That's just good science, good math, whatever you want to call it. Good financial advice right here.
There you go. I was going to say, you put it all together, it's good financial advice. All right, moving on. Josh Jacobs has himself a day. Absolute day. The Raiders, this was a game they had to have, right? They all had to come together and win this game, because if you go 0-4 in the AFC West, it's going to be tough sledding going forward. Literally, like, the chance of you being a playoff team starting 0-4 is just slim to none, and Slim would have walked right out the door. You know what I mean? But right now, get this win. Josh Jacobs does his thing. He actually had a phenomenal game, and his stats right here: 28 rushes. God, I mean, I looked at it before, but it really didn't stand out.
Very rare.
They fed him 28 times, 144 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns. He actually caught 5 balls for 31. The guy. Look, say what you will about Josh Jacobs, and obviously you see his market also spiked yesterday because of his performance. Say what you will. This guy is a gamer, right? He shows up when he needs to show up. There will be games. As I ask you the question of your investment on the Josh Jacobs, like, there will be games where you're just like, where is Josh Jacobs? You know what I'm saying? But on this day, on this night,
not this season,
right? With all the stacked boxes, you would assume. I mean, that used to be. They can't do that anymore with Devontae on the outside.
Yeah, look, the Raiders' offensive line is number 1 in the league in adjusted line yards right now, which means that they're just getting crazy push. They're moving guys around better than anybody, and no way I expected that. I feel like in the beginning, and I'm going to go run the tape and check, but I feel like I was out and I advised people to not buy in on Josh Jacobs early in this show. In like week 1, I was like, no go on
Believe it or
Jacobs.
not, we're in week 3.
Like, complete 180, because they're handing him the ball 30 times. If he could stay healthy in terms of fantasy points, he could be a league winner for your team because of the way the Raiders are using him. But that is a lot of usage. It worries me a little bit. But they scored 30-something points, and it was all Josh Jacobs. Devontae Adams finally got a little more efficient with his usage. The Raiders, while they're 1-3, it's a 17-game season. I'm not going to close the book on them just yet. We haven't seen the new data on how playoff teams fare starting 0-2, 0-3 with this extra game. So it changes things a little bit. The Raiders are desperate early, so you're going to see a desperate team every week.
And you know what's funny? You say that with desperation, you would think air, right? Like, oh, we got to throw the ball a million times. They showed you that if they just stick to their game plan, and testament to the coaching. I know Josh McDaniels is kind of slept on right now and kind of like, well, he kind of stinks as a head coach because of his first run with Denver and now this one. But like, if you take mindset into consideration, he literally played the same game that Bill Belichick would have played in a winning situation where they got the lead. Yeah. Let's hold on to it. Let's keep feeding our running back and keep going.
Let's not make any mistakes about the Raiders' passing game. They're not really living up to the bill yet. Mm-hmm. But what they're definitely doing is you have to respect Devontae Adams. Waller in the seam. Yeah. He needs a safety or something, that somebody athletic out there.
He needs 3 people.
Right? And then Renfrow, I know he's been banged up and he had the fumble issue, but Renfrow, if you ask around the league, corners know Renfro's no joke. That guy could run a route, and he has great hands. The Raiders' offense, they do a good job of spreading things out, and Mac Hollins has stepped up as well in his second straight week. Who would have thought at 29 years old?
Through the roof. One of the top movers.
I was saying maybe be cold on him. I need to see a little more. Well, I saw a little more. Maybe you buy in. But the Raiders' offense is really humming in terms of the running game. Adjusted line yards is a huge stat for me. And they did it against Denver, who was tops in the league in adjusted line yards for their defensive line. So
that's impressive.
They had a true test and they passed. They just got to get more wins and finish. They finished yesterday.
All right. Yeah. They finished yesterday. Now, look.
Jacobs.
Monday morning,
Still a little hesitant.
Okay, that's fine.
Because buying high on a guy, he's never going to be this high. If he has a bad week next week, maybe you
buy the dip.
Kick the tires then.
Yeah.
Buy the dip.
So, all right. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows here, okay? Like, we obviously have a lot of guys that perform well, and we're singing the praises. There's one guy that was arguably the clear-cut #1 overall draft pick in all your fantasy drafts, right? And we're talking about Jonathan Taylor.
Definitely in a redraft league.
Right, yes. So Jonathan Taylor, obviously, you see what he's done in the last 24 hours, and it's been weird and odd to see because the Colts team was built, their foundation was built on the run. Even last year with Carson Wentz at the quarterback position, and now you have Matt Ryan, you still have a run-first team. What is happening with Jonathan Taylor right now? Because right now, if you drafted him first in your fantasy leagues, you're like, come on, you're ripping your hair out. But if you invest in money in a young running back like a Jonathan Taylor, you're also kind of concerned here on Mojo.
Yeah, so there's a couple things. One, you could see he was already on his way down before the injury. It kind of leveled out if you're looking at the graphic on the screen. And then the injury happened. It bottomed out a little bit. Okay, fair. That's fine. So scratch that. The injury happened. He wasn't having a good game anyway. But if you could pull up the next graphic, I want to highlight something here. It has nothing to do with the injury, really, for me.
This is the 1 month.
1 month
of
play. 1 month of data here on Jonathan Taylor. So for the season, you could see at his highest point, that was right before week 1 started. So there was a high expectation. He was just fresh off the heels of being the #1 pick in everybody's fantasy draft.
Right.
The Colts, they have this $42 million offensive line. I want to note the highest paid unit in the NFL with a clear idea that Frank Reich is going to pound the ball. They brought in Matt Ryan to fix what Carson Wentz's issues were, and everybody expected the Colts to take a step forward. Now, they ran into a rough issue in Houston. They got outplayed, and you could say, okay, give them the week 1 pass. Week 2, I'll also give them the pass because they were without their entire receiving core, and their offensive line was really struggling at that point. They didn't do anything to fix that. Week 3, though, the game script allowed for Jonathan Taylor to get involved. The defense played well. The offensive line still didn't move people, and the Chiefs are surprisingly better defensively than we thought they were going to be this year. But the game script allowed for a heavy Jonathan Taylor usage, and it just wasn't there. Frank Reich all week talking, we got to get JT more involved. Mm-hmm. I guess they made attempts, but this offensive line is just not living up to the bill.
They gave him the ball yesterday 20 times, and he averaged 2 yards a carry.
And then the injury.
42 yards, and then the injury.
So it's not all signs are not looking good for Jonathan Taylor, but do you believe in the talent?
Yeah.
Do you believe in the offensive line?
Absolutely.
Do you believe in Frank Reich?
Sure do.
And then if you look at what the Colts have done over the last couple seasons, this is a very, very weird team. They go on bad runs, and then they just turn it up late, and then they collapse. That's what happened last year.
Well, that's also Carson Wentz.
I think that they're very capable of doing the same thing that they did.
So you would say right now is the time if they're going to right the wrongs, this guy is going to be the one to do it.
Yeah, so Jonathan Taylor, even if he misses a couple weeks, which honestly, if I have him in my portfolio, I wouldn't even mind it at this point. I'm going to sit and hold him because you believe in that talent. We all know that Jonathan Taylor could light the league on fire for 5 weeks in a row at any point and retake the top crown of like the rushing yards or whatever you want to call it. But it's time is now because the season's like a quarter of the way over.
I don't want to even
let's
talk.
Let's go, JT.
I don't even want to talk about that.
Dynasty guy. I traded for him this month.
I don't want to talk about top crown guy in the running back department because as of yesterday, there's a little movement over there as well. When it comes to the top movers, we're talking about King Henry.
King Henry just snatched the crown.
He was
back
like, "Hey Zeke, I'm gonna take this real quick, and I'm gonna wear it again." So that happened. So, not a fan of that. But.
Running back wise, though,
there was a big running back.
A lot of guys. I'm just gonna
yesterday.
rattle off. Saquon went up. Kamara, not much, but Nick Chubb went up significant amount.
Kamara was out, so that's why he went down.
Yeah, Aaron Jones went up 2.25%. Austin Eckler almost 3%. Dalvin Cook 2%.
Had himself a day.
Yeah, man. And Josh Jacobs went up a full 10%.
That's incredible. So good day for the Mojo Market if you're a running back heavy investor.
Can we talk about J.K. Dobbins real fast?
Can we? Because
Can we please
boy, oh boy,
is
this guy's finding some pay dirt.
Look, I needed to see it. I saw it. I'm back. Thank you, J.K. Dobbins, for proving me right. Well, not yet. I know it's a long road ahead, but I've owned him in Dynasty Keeper League for 2 straight seasons. I used pretty decent capital on him last year, and him paying off right there really helps. Mojo is next, I could assure you.
I sure as heck will get in on the J.K. Dobbins hype train as far as the Mojo Market because I just saw what the running backs could do. If you load your portfolio with just running backs with hype, it's like it doesn't matter what they do on a week to week. It's like this is long-term play. We're talking guys like J.K. Dobbins, guys like A.J. Dillon yesterday who's running very hard again, guys like Tony Pollard who couldn't get nothing going yesterday. That's a conversation for another day. Cowboys won though. But speaking of the week, it's wrapping up tonight, and we got Monday Night Football going down tonight between the reigning defending champions, the Los Angeles Rams, to take on the road and head on over to San Francisco, take on the 49ers. Now, Chris, we saw what the 49ers kind of didn't do last week. You know, we were all kind of waiting for this team to kind of gel under Jimmy G. Does it happen tonight? Are you in on Jimmy G tonight? What are the guys you're watching on the 49ers side of the ball first?
I'm looking at the running game big time.
What a shocker. This week, the running backs are insane.
If you look at the history between these two teams, Shanahan has had McVay's number. I believe it's 3-7.
Yeah, it's a little alarming.
It's 7-3 against Sean McVay. And if you look at those games, it's been a lot of like smash mouth. Last year, I think the 49ers put the Rams in a really bad spot, and they sent them on a tailspin. 49ers are the most physical team in football. They win in all these power rushing situations. They're top of the league. So 3rd and short, 4th and goal, they always execute. I know that the Rams defense, they have this, everyone has this idea that they got a good defensive front, and they typically do, but
they got the best player in football.
Aaron Donald's been susceptible to the run. I know Elijah Mitchell's out, but that really doesn't matter if the scheme is working okay. 49ers offensive line is playing pretty decent, and I think Debo's going to get involved in the running game. I was just going to say Debo.
You got to consider, when you're talking about the rushing attack, you also have to consider Debo Samuel.
Jimmy G owns the Rams. He really does. So I'm not in on
Bold
Jimmy
takes
G.
Here on Monday.
I'm not in on Jimmy G, but other than Cooper Kupp from the other side of the ball, I'm not really high on any of the Rams.
Well, I was going to ask you, before we get out of here, I got to ask you, are you maybe possibly going short on a guy like Cam Akers or Henderson or any of these guys that you just can't figure out who's going to get the rock over there? We saw the uptick of carries by a Cam Akers over the last week, right? Week and a half, like obviously the last 2 weeks he's been upticking. But what are we doing here with this running game?
See, for backups, I'll never go short on a backup for the reason being that even if they don't get involved, they weren't expected to, so you're not going to really like lose money
unless you got a multiplier.
You know, I'll go long on a backup on a guy that I think is like, oh, he's banged up a little bit. He might not be able to finish this game. Then you go long on the backup. But so far, I'm more or less like I'm not playing the short day trade game yet because I believe in the quarterbacks and the receivers. The running backs, it's too early for me. I need to see a couple things shake out. But no, as far as Cam Akers, I'm not going to go short on him because I think the talent's there. I think the weapons around Matthew Stafford and the receivers, you could see Cam Akers really come into his own. In his rookie season in the second half, he was one of the best backs in football. Then he got hurt the following year. So maybe he just needs a little more seasoning.
All right, I got a guy you can look into tonight, okay, because he's just been getting fed the ball in L.A.
Tyler Higbee?
And it's not Tyler Higbee.
He has been getting fed.
He has been getting fed as well. keep your eyes. I'm going to butcher this one. Ready? Ben Skrowinek. Do it.
Fair point.
The guy gets the ball all the time. He's on the field all the time. I'm all about opportunity. They find this guy in space. You throw it to him, and you're like, Cooper Kupp with another. No, that's not Cooper Kupp. You know what I mean? Like, there's other talent on this team.
And if he has a touchdown or two today on a whim, then these are the types of guys that shoot up 25% a day, 20% a day, because there's no expectations for a Benny Swarnick. I do know who he is.
Benny S. Everybody knows who he is. He's been playing real well in the first 3 weeks of football, and he's going to earn a correct pronunciation of his name as the show goes along. So, anyway, you're going to enjoy the old Monday Night Football game. We're going to put a bow on week 4 tomorrow as we go over the top movers from this game. We got a loaded week. We're going to try to go to some history of this entire app, which, again, it just started a couple weeks ago, but there is data for days, and we can find out just how certain players right now compare to certain legends of past. So we'll get into all that this week. Week 5, believe it or not, starts on Thursday. So again, buckle up, get your investments in line, get your portfolio. I may or may not have traded out yesterday a little bit. A couple of my long plays, I was just like, I'm not feeling it anymore. But I did make some money on it, so I was just like, all right, that worked. But now my portfolio is at 3 people. That's it. Like I have to start spreading the wealth a little bit more.
We're going to diversify.
We are going to diversify because right now I'm sitting at like
first, bro.
plus 230%.
Diversification keeps you in line. It keeps you afloat no matter what happens. So diversify.
We gotta talk after the show. So anyway,
we'll have a little
powwow about the going forward on the Mojo Market. So for Dave Sturchio, Chris Gueci, A5 Behind the Glass, right here at Chop Studios. Thank you guys for watching the Mojo Market Report here on a Monday. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
I'm really counting on Jimmy G and Shanahan tonight. Save my week, boys.